In this video, I will demonstrate how to onboard a Cisco Catalyst switch into hybrid operating mode to be cloud managed by the Meraki Dashboard. After logging into the Meraki Dashboard and navigating to the Pod 4 network, and then navigating to switching switches on the left-hand side menu, you will notice that there are no switches in the network that are labeled as hybrid. Before we begin the onboarding process, let's investigate the current configuration of the switch we will be onboarding. Navigating to my terminal server and performing a show version so we can see what version of iOS XE we are running. With the show Meraki command, I can see that there are no tunnels up, and with the show Meraki connect command, I can see that the tunnels are disabled. One of the prerequisites of bringing the tunnel up is to have NTP active. As you can see here with the show NTP status, it is not active, and I'll need to activate that before bringing up the tunnel. I can also do a ping out to the internet, and I can see that I have access to the internet, and then I'm going to do a show IP interface brief just so you can see how the switch is configured at this time. Here on my cheat sheet, you can see some of the commands that are prerequisites to bringing up the tunnel, so I'm going to put a basic configuration on this switch that has previously been write erased. After pasting that configuration, let's go ahead and do a show NTP status again to show that NTP is now activated. It's not synchronized, but the tunnel will come up since it's on. Let's do a show Meraki connect just to show you once again that the tunnel is disabled. From here, I'm going to go into config T mode, and I'm going to go ahead and turn on the tunnel by doing a service Meraki connect. It only takes us one command to bring the tunnel up. It usually takes about 15 to 30 seconds for the tunnel to come up, so don't be impatient like me. I'm sitting here doing a show Meraki connect waiting, when I should just wait for the message to pop up on the screen like it just did now. As you can see, it says up and up for the primary and secondary tunnel, so now I'm going to do a show Meraki connect again, and we'll see that both tunnels are up. There's another command here called show Meraki migration, but this isn't useful for this particular mode. It's more useful when you're going into cloud operating mode. But let's do a show Meraki, and now we can see that it says monitoring after the cat9k. Monitoring indicates that the tunnel is up and running. It doesn't indicate that we're actually monitoring in the dashboard yet because we haven't claimed this in the dashboard. So I'm going to go ahead and highlight the cloud ID, which is the Meraki version of the serial number for this switch. I'm going to go back to the dashboard. I'm already in network pod 4, which is where I want to put this particular switch. So I'm going to go ahead and say add a switch button in the upper right hand corner. And then I'm going to come to a screen where it says claim order, but I'm not claiming an order. So I'm going to click on the individual switch hyperlink at the bottom. Then I'm going to paste that cloud ID that we highlighted in the show Meraki command. Once I click the Claim Devices button, it's going to take me to a list of the switches we just claimed. And now I'm going to click the checkbox to the left of the MAC address there so I can indicate which one I want to add to the network. Then once I checkbox that, I'm going to click the button that says Add to this network because I'm already in Pod 4. This is where it gets interesting. This is where we determine whether we're going to go into cloud operating mode or hybrid operating mode. And in this switch, we want to put in hybrid operating mode. So we need to be careful because if I accidentally put this switch into cloud operating mode, I'm going to have to put in a TAC case to get it back to DNAC mode, which is what they call taking the switch back to just a regular cat, not being managed by dashboard. So be very careful here. And if you want to go into hybrid, select hybrid, do not select cloud. Otherwise, it's going to take you about 25 hours to put in a case and have them accept it and return the switch back to DNAC mode. Next, it's going to ask you for the credentials and the enable password for this particular switch. And then it's also going to ask you to confirm that you've read all the terms and conditions. And I know that you'll read every word of it before you continue on past this point. Then click Save. Once you click Save, it starts to add this particular switch to the network. So now let's go to switching switches on the left-hand side and take a look at what we see in the list of switches. Notice we now have a switch, but it says monitored only. Monitored only is a fragment from the previous legacy version of hybrid called cloud monitoring. When we fully onboard the switch, that bubble will turn to the word hybrid. Let's take a look at what's happening on the console port. So once you add that claim device to the network, the dashboard uploads an EEM script to the device. Once that EEM script starts running, it starts adding configurations to the device. What you'll notice is when it first starts running, it'll bring down the tunnel and then bring the tunnel right back up, and then you'll see it starting to add a bunch of lines of code to the device. I'm going to fast forward this. It takes about 2 minutes, so I'm going to fast forward to near the end of the EEM script adding the configuration. Now that we're near the end, you can see that the switch is still doing a few things, but it is in the dashboard and being managed by the dashboard. And when in hybrid mode, when you say manage, we're really just monitoring it because the config still lives on the switch. Let's go ahead and do a show Meraki, and we'll see that nothing really changed from when we first onboarding it. It still says monitoring, which means the tunnel is up. And then if I do a show Meraki connect, it still looks the same as it did before we onboarded it in the dashboard. You still see the tunnels are up, but there's really no difference. If we return back to the dashboard, you can see that that monitor only now says hybrid. If I click on the switch, we are now monitoring the switch in hybrid mode in Meraki Dashboard. This has been a presentation from the Solutions Readiness Engineering team. This is Paul Stryer. Have a good day.